From an Easter egg that was solved after 4 years to a hidden message everyone forgot about, these are 24 Fortnite secrets found years later, and we'll start at chapter 3 when Ronan's loading screen showed two different cities. One half was a Japanese temple and the other revealed a cyberpunk city. By now, you probably figured out this is the theme of chapter 4 season 2, and they teased it over a year ago. And one of the longest running secrets involved Bright Bomber's glider. This thing came out in 2019 and people have used it as their main combo hundreds of times, but never discovered a secret button. After 4 years, one player discovered that shooting midair with Bright Bomber, the Bright Bag, and the glider would unlock a button to shoot rainbow rockets. And let's rewind even further back to chapter 1, because it turns out Fortnite has been teasing something since the very beginning. In some areas around the map, you can find a small briefcase with graffiti on it, and if you look very closely, it says Thor. This was of course leading up to their original superhero season, but Thor himself didn't release until 2 years later. A secret no one knew about involves medmists. You think these are straightforward to use, but people really underestimated them. For years we thought you could only heal teammates right next to you, but it turns out the medmist has a range of up to 20 meters. It's insane! And the greatest example of hiding in plain sight was in chapter 1. You might remember the Durr Burger that showed up in a desert in California. This was obviously to promote the new season, but people were so distracted by the burger they failed to notice a much bigger secret. If you looked at the desert on Google Maps, there's a huge circle in the ground, and at the time, no one paid attention because it didn't mean anything until a year later when the vault appeared on Fortnite's island. Now it made perfect sense, and people were blown away by how long Epic were teasing this. But a secret no one talks about is on Star-Lord's outfit. He was one of the first Marvel skins ever, and yeah, he got a lot of criticism for his design, but now we've learned there's a reason for this. Half a year later, chapter 2 was revealed with a new map, weapons, and of course, defaults. And if you look closely, you'll see these guys have the exact same outfit as Star-Lord. Yeah, this whole time he was just a glorified default, and I gotta admit, it explains a lot. Now imagine looking at your favorite skin, using it every day, only for a trailer to completely blow your mind. This happened with Lil Whip. For years he looked like this and was widely accepted as his normal face until recently it turns out Lil Whip had his eyes closed the entire time. The only thing that got them to open was being crushed by a building, so I mean I can never look at him the same. It's just like Peely, who's been a derpy banana since the dawn of time. But it wasn't until last month that Donald Mustard revealed the insane story behind his creation. We all thought he was just a random skin, but it turns out Donald's brother Chad hates bananas. So to troll him, they added Peely, and that's why Chad uses his skin in all of his videos. So if you're wondering, yeah, secrets are hidden everywhere in the game. Even dying has a story. When you get eliminated, a small drone collects your body, and it's been like this since day one. But it wasn't until this year we found out the robot's true origin. A former Epic Games artist shared his design for a flying turret in Save the World, but it got used for BR instead. This caused people to look at Save the World again, and they found the elimination robot just with a couple extra parts. And when people analyze one of Fortnite's most famous weapons, I don't think they expected to find a secret message. The legendary pump shotgun has been around for a long time, but only a handful of people notice writing on the side. It says 11/06/93, which is the original release date of Jurassic Park. Turns out the reference even goes deeper with Smart Young Lady, also known as Clever Girl. When Fortnite Chapter 3 launched, players are scrambling to explore the map. They wanted to learn it as fast as possible. Yet no one noticed a collab teaser hiding right under our noses. This house seemed like an innocent POI, but it felt kind of familiar. We shrugged it off for 3 seasons, and that's when the Dragon Ball crossover was announced. Immediately people realized it was the Kame house, and Fortnite had been teasing it the whole chapter. So as you can see, Epic is really good at foreshadowing, and they do it as subtle as possible. When we entered Chapter 2 for the first time, no one expected a new map to have old POIs. Half of the island was from Chapter 1, and we assumed it was for nostalgia, but this was secretly a teaser years in the making. When the next map came around, we watched it flip, blowing our minds. Even crazier, this island had the other half of Chapter 1's POIs, which means the black hole split the map in half years before we even learned about it. You gotta hand it to Epic, but it seems like their best ideas take way too long to release. Let's look at Sniper Glare. It only came out recently, and it's really improved the game, but you have to ask, what took them so long? Even Fortnite's comic book artist thought it was a good idea. Just look at the Batman comics, it is right there, and this was from years ago. Not everything is a total surprise though. One of their more obvious secrets was the Foundation. During his reveal, fans thought his voice was super familiar. Then they analyzed his suit. Every hint pointed to The Rock, but it was just speculation. We'd have to wait almost a year for the moment to break the internet. It's all a part of a storyline we're figuring out to this day, and one of the biggest mysteries was the storm on the island. In other battle royales, no one thinks about the storm, but this is Fortnite we're talking about, so everything has a hidden meaning. When Imposters released, we got to explore the Imagined Orders HQ and found out they controlled everything. everything. Not just the storm, they're the bus driver and the people who vault weapons. It has been them since the very beginning. Around the same time, Fortnite was dropping comics. I know, sounds underwhelming, but they secretly explain live events from years ago. No one really questioned where the Devourer came from, and once we heard the story, it made so much more sense. Turns out this wasn't an iceberg, it came from space, specifically the Ice Moon, and the Devourer was simply a prisoner in the dungeon. The comics kept throwing answers at us, explaining how Battle Royale's time limit is called the loop. Every 22 minutes, people's memories are reset and they fight all over again. But the greatest mystery was yet to be solved. For years, bunkers had appeared on the island and were totally indestructible. Millions of players tried to break in, and there were countless videos on what they could lead to. No one expected the final answer to come from a comic, but this revealed the true destination of the bunkers, leading straight to the bridge. I mean, it did feel a little anticlimactic at the time, but this means Fortnite has been teasing the IO since day one. And there was another mystery that went unexplained for way too long. After the robot defeated the monster, it flew straight up into the sky, never to be seen again. Weeks went by, then months turned to years, and it seemed like Epic had forgotten about it. But little did we know the answer was 3 chapters away. In the collision event, we finally got to see the Ice Moon, and there it was, the mech. And so that begged another question. If Paradigm was flying the robot, what happened to Singularity? After all, it was her who built the mech, and it even used her statue as a sword. Well, that's why fans spent years assuming they were the same person, and Epic even hinted at it multiple times, calling Singularity one of the most important characters. A lot of people believe Fortnite retconned everything, claiming the teasers were a misdirection and Paradigm was a totally different person. So let me know down in the comments, do you think the true reason was obvious? They wanted to cast Brie Larson and this was the only way. Something that wasn't a misdirection blew everyone's minds. When the island flipped in Chapter 3, no one realized Fortnite teased this months in advance. During Season 5's launch trailer, you can see John Jones dive into the 0 point, and then something interesting happens. The camera does a 180. At the time, we thought the bridge was upside down, but only if we knew what it really meant. Speaking of John Jones, he has been a total mystery for years. I mean, seriously, from the second we met him, he's confused everyone, and even though pieces of his life have been revealed, nothing compares to the plot twist Fortnite had in store. Not only does he have a family, but Jones is secretly hundreds of years old. And no, it's not a skincare routine, he is just straight up immortal. I mean, it's crazy how they failed to mention this for so long. And he's not the only character to surprise us. Chaos Agent has been around for even longer, but it took years for us to learn a pretty important secret. He was added to save the world in Chapter 3, and they hired a voice actor, but that's when we realized Chaos Agent is Russian.
No. That is impossible.
Let's go back to the start of Fortnite when Battle Royale first came out and everyone was a default. We all raced to buy new skins every time they released, but they secretly had something in common: dog tags. It was a small detail, and you could even spot it in Fortnite's logo. People have looked back on this years later only to realize they're gone. We have no idea why Epic stopped doing this, but hopefully it is our next secret to be solved. And Fortnite has spent 2 chapters teasing a collab through trailers, POIs, and skins, but he is finally here. Miles Morales first appeared in a comic at the Daily Bugle. While people thought it was nothing, the teasers just kept coming. The Prowler and Gwen Stacy arrived over the next year, which felt like it was building up to the release of Miles, and the icing on the cake was in this season's trailer. Aaron and Fishstick jumped from a skyscraper just like this scene in the movie. Even the music was similar, and still, I mean, no one talked about it. Now finally, the mystery is solved, and Miles Morales is here along with Spider-Man 2099. I don't think anyone was expecting that, but even when we figure out a mystery, it could be completely wrong. In Chapter 2, you can find a prison cell which someone broke out of, and on the wall there is a calendar. Looking closely, you'd see March 2020 with a birthday on the 9th and X marks the spot on the 31st. Very interesting, because on that day, it was Oro's final item shop and he was obsessed with treasure. But things were starting to line up, or so we thought, because after freaking out and thinking Oro staged a prison break, nothing happened. We forgot about it, but one person didn't: the developer who made the calendar. Years later, he revealed it was a tribute to his daughter for her birthday, and nothing more. A little embarrassing for us, but those were secrets found years later. It's been Tommy, and keep it here on Top 5 Gaming.